Sup guys, we're back at it again with more LEGO Classic Space retrospective. So of course we're still firmly in the middle of reviewing a lot of the very first wave of LEGO Classic Space sets released primarily in the year of 1979 globally, but primarily in North American and European markets. And of course 885, the space scooter here, is certainly no exception. So today we're just going to be taking a look at this very tiny set. This was, of course, released along with the famous Galaxy Explorer, along with some of the other very tiny 25-part sets. So you could almost consider the Space Scooter sort of a sister set to 886, the Space Buggy, along with 889, the radar truck right here. So yeah, this set is just so small and insignificant that I just pretty much slapped this together with period-appropriate parts I just found in bulk. So it's sort of one of those sets where I don't really care to get like a full completion of it, like with the instructions or the original box. I just kind of slapped it together just to finish the original collection, you know? So we've of course got your classic spacemen included. It's just obviously one of the red guys just pretty much piloting this thing, you know? It's all period appropriate with that original torso, the original very thin helmet, you know? Still got the classic smiley face. If you look very closely on this guy, the camera will focus, there we go. He's still got a little bit of the gold still on his chest right there on the emblem, but it's pretty scuffed up, you know. It's he's obviously used, been played with in the past, which is good. You know, it's just your common classic space dude. Now here's the Space Scooter itself. So all of this, including the minifig, this set included just a total of 20 parts actually. I think the Space Buggy also just included 20 parts, but you know, like probably a modern polybag would include like 2 or 3 times the amount of parts, you know. But to be completely fair with these old sets, they did include much larger parts, so I guess that kind of makes up for it, you know. But this was essentially just a stocking stuffer, you know? I think the general reputation by the community is that the Space Scooter is probably considered the weakest of the original Classic Space collection, if not the weakest Classic Space set ever, you know? And honestly, I'll agree with that. It's pretty much just like a wing slab with a few plates underneath it. It doesn't even really have that much of landing gear, you know. It's I mean, it's got the 2x3 slope with the logo printed. I added one in pretty good conditions. That's a nice piece, but it's got its antenna, which is at least good. It kind of adds just to like the grittiness of Classic Space, you know, for communication and stuff. You got these very dopey looking like ion drives on the back. Okay, I mean, they're kind of cool, but it could have been designed a lot better. I have no idea why this thing needed a 1x4 grid fencing piece to be the only thing to like hold the engines together. I will admit, it is one of my least favorite Classic Space sets. However, the thing is, like, very small, like $2 or $3 sets like these always had like a niche. Like this was clearly aimed for like younger children, you know, whereas older children would get something more like the Galaxy Explorer or like one of the bases, you know. But it was kind of a similar thing to how you had like 3 different sizes of the original 3 like blue and yellow ships, you know. Like if you wanted something more affordable, you could get like the 924 or the 918. And this is kind of the same thing. Like you could of course like get the 2-man space shuttle as if you had a little bit more of a budget. However, just for a little tiny like stocking stuffer or just something to get like on a road trip or something like that, you could just like fly around your living room for someone younger. You could just basically get them this, just, you know, the Space Scooter to just like play with, you know. So there isn't anything inherently bad about this set, but I will have to agree that it's just dopey looking. I don't really hate this thing, but it's kind of laughable, you know. It looks extremely dangerous to drive because like not only are you of course like exposed on it to like the elements like space radiation and stuff, but I mean if this thing like crash lands upside down, there's no like guard, so I mean you're kind of done for. I think they kind of like saw how stupid this thing was and kind of had that in mind, because like a few years later, I believe in like 83, there was like the kind of the successor to this known as 6803, the Space Patrol, which I think was built a lot better than this, where it actually like at least makes sense with like, you know, the reaction control kind of like three-way megaphone pieces for the actual like space boosters. Like that makes sense, but this just being like a fence piece with like these cylinders just doesn't make sense. I don't know how this thing is supposed to fly, but my guess is this is supposed to be some kind of like little shuttle just to like get yourself from A to B between like bases on like the same planet, you know, cover kind of long distances. And I think it's supposed to sort of like be some kind of low hovering vehicle. I don't think it could like fly like interstellar or anything. And maybe it could be like a shuttle to like a space station or something like that. But most of the like catalogs where this thing was presented, it was always kind of like low to the ground, just like slowly going over the terrain, you know. One thing I do kind of want to point out is this modified 1x2 plate with the two bars on the side is actually a different piece to what they make like these days. Like I don't know if they still make this piece, but this is like the older example of this piece with the slightly rounded like ends of the bars. But the bars are actually sort of set in the middle of the plate, whereas the newer version of that piece has them set slightly lower and they're slightly more like kind of squared off, if you know what I mean. So just thought I'd point that out. It was just kind of an interesting piece of trivia. So the set had an original price of only $2.99 back in the day. You know, tiny set, affordable. Adjusted for inflation now, that'd be more like $14 or something like that. That's actually around the price you could get this used, actually. I'm seeing an average about like $20 if you want the original instructions. Like I said, I just built this from bulk with period appropriate parts, so I don't have the original instructions or anything like that, but I did see online that the original instructions would basically be the same thing as like the Space Buggy's instructions. You know, it just has a little catalog on the back, just promoting the other sets along with the base plates, and you know, it would just be a very simple build, you know. But buying it sealed, I'm sure, I haven't found any online, but I'm sure it would probably be at least like within your few $100s or something like that. But that's just normal for a sealed vintage set that's almost like 50 years old. So the box you would have gotten for this set is teeny tiny. It looks that way. But of course, on the back of the box, you just have some other alternate combinations of what you could build with the same parts. They're just sort of like other scooter type vehicles or something like that. This one kind of looks like an aircraft, like Earth-based aircraft. That's kind of funny. But yeah, other than that, I think that's just pretty much all I can say about this set. Yeah, not much else to say. So yeah, I'll of course see you all in the next review. I am currently on vacation, so I think I'll just pump out these like kind of smaller reviews in the meantime. And when I get back, of course, I'll be reviewing the Galaxy Explorer. So stay tuned, y'all.